So welcome back to another episode of On Repeat with me, Ali Rashid.
And me, Hattie Winter.
Tom hit bass kick down in the basement. Lips kiss, sweat drips, pulses race.
And this week we're speaking to deep pop artist Rahh, aka Holly Quin.
Holly is originally from Manchester, but she's now based in London. Holly comes from a musical family who paved the way for her career. In this episode, we'll be reflecting on her musical influences while she was growing up, and also what she's learned from working in the industry so far.
It was a super honest interview, and thinking about Holly's career, she's performed backing vocals for Liam Gallagher for his live performance, and has shared the stage with the likes of Dave Stewart, Nile Rodgers, Emeli, Sande and Beverly. She's also appeared on BBC Six Music, BBC Introducing, Complex, Clash, Earmilk, Gal-Dem, Spindle and Fred Perry Subculture, to name but a few.
Just a few then, just a few.
just a few casual names.
Oh, and her new single Overkill sees tropical house beats fuse with lo-fi stylings and her stunning vocals. The music video is actually a take on a Black Mirror-esque world. Shot entirely in her own flat, the video sees Holly transform the mundanity of everyday life in lockdown into a kaleidoscope rave. Holly even said herself that Corona definitely presented a strange circumstance to shoot the music video.
It's always interesting when you interview someone that you've never met, because I think we've been quite lucky that we can kind of talk to people that we kind of know, but with someone you've never met, you never know what you're gonna kind of find. But Holly was an absolute gem, and I think just a really honest interview about kind of her experiences and what she's learned across her career, which is, I think, a really important kind of message for people to know. And I think she brought up some really good strong points, but it's also really good to hear that she's got some amazing stuff in the pipeline, so that's always really nice.
I agree. It's so nice when you meet a guest and you're just like, you know what, I could have a glass of wine with you.
Yes, we're gonna be meeting you for tea when things are all normal.
So keep it locked and keep it on repeat with Rahh.
Elated, I feel good, but she is wasted. Pulls his zip lips misbehaving. He starts shaking, ain't faking. Heartbeats racing, beats racing. I can't stand still, I can't stand still.
My name's Holly, but my music artist name is Rahh. I am a music artist, since I've got a music artist name. I'm from Manchester, but I live in East London. And and I sing and I write, and that's what I'm doing.
Sick. Whereabouts in East London, Holly?
I'm in Haggerston.
Oh, nice.
I love that part of East London. It's like my favourite little strip of that road.
Me too.
Me too. I love it here. Yeah. I've been here a year. Oh gosh, this year's flown actually. So yeah, like 18 months, I guess now. But I really love it. Yeah, I really like it here.
So you were in Manchester before that?
Nah, I've been in London on and off a few times. So I first moved down here. When I first moved down here, I was like 19. I was here for a while. Then I moved back up north because I was doing some acting work up there, and then I came back down here. And I feel like I've lived everywhere in London. I had left everywhere except East, and now I'm East. I feel home. Yeah, it took me ages to feel like I felt like at home here, because I love Manchester, and I was living in the place called the Northern Quarter. It's like in the city centre, and it's quite like East London. Nice. Yeah, it feels homey here because of that, I think. And Brixton was a little bit like that too. I was close to Brixton before, so yeah. They're my favourite bits.
Oh, that's so good. I love Manchester. I can see why. I think the two are very similar. It's like super friendly, very friendly people.
Yeah.
Very cold. But
yeah.
Just me.
No, it is.
It's in temperature.
Yeah, it's colder there, and it's more grey.
I'm from Leicester, and I have a lot of family in Manchester, so I'm used to it. Like London actually feels quite warm, I have to say.
I think it's massively different. Yeah, when I come down. And
It's huge.
it's massive. And when I speak to my dad all the time in Liverpool, he's like, the first thing we always talk about is weather. What's your weather like? What's your weather like, Holly? Yeah, it's good, Dad. What's yours like? And I win all the time. It's like, it's hotter here.
Yeah, my sister lives in Liverpool, and I'm like, oh, what do you want for Christmas or whatever? She's like, a hat.
Yeah, thermals,
Umbrella.
Yeah, she's like, we just really need something.
A constant hug. Yeah. All wicked cities, though. I love all these cities that we're talking about, to be honest. But
Would you ever live abroad?
yeah, I'd love to. I don't know where though, but I really love. When I get to go away on holiday, I love Southeast Asia.
Ooh.
Yeah, I love it there. So I always dream a little bit about having a house out there somewhere that you could, go to for 6 months a year or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's,
Yeah. Sort of like from now, kind of in the year.
yeah,
Miss the winter.
exactly. That's the plan. Yeah.
Do you find that it's like, I mean, I don't know how often you travel. Obviously, no one's traveling at the moment, but
Yeah.
do you find it helpful to have a different space that you can go to, whether it's just literally like down the road or a different country to write in?
Do you know what? I guess because prior to this year, I have never felt like I needed it because I'm away a lot of maybe even over half the year back and forth. And only this year have I really been in my house this long without going anywhere, which has been lovely. But it does highlight that now I'm doing everything from my house, and I'm living with my boyfriend here as well, and I do see the benefit of having somewhere else you could go. Like my friends who are producers who have studios, and you then shut the door and you leave work and you come back home. But here, it's always like the piano's always open, a laptop's on, and it's harder to break like work and leisure. I also, with my process, I love the idea of setting aside time just to write for like those 2 weeks, and then you don't do anything else. I never do this. But like in my head, I'm like, that would be so great if it was like, that's it. You don't work on anything else. You don't even like brainstorm ideas about nothing. All you're doing is writing for a couple of weeks, and then you move on to the next thing. So in my head, that would be great to do abroad, preferably somewhere really hot, and then you don't have to answer calls, and you can just get lost in that.
So how long have you been kind of writing music for?
I'm trying to remember the first time. I think I never wanted to write. Well, when I was a kid and I wanted to sing, I didn't want to write. I wanted to just like sing Mariah Carey songs and be paid for it. That was like, I just wanted to do that. I couldn't really understand why that wasn't a thing. So I met with Sony when I was a teenager, and they asked to hear me sing. So I played them a couple of songs. To both of them were covers, and then they really wanted to hear one that was mine. And I'd started writing something with my mum, and that was the one that they wanted to push with, and that's what we got offered the deal on. And that was the only. If it wasn't for them doing that, I don't know when I would have started writing. So even though that didn't work out, and I didn't like them very much at the end of it, I at least can thank them for encouraging me to write at a really young age.
How old were you? Sorry.
Well, I was 17 when I met them. So yeah, I would have thought, yeah. So I've been writing then since I was 17.
Did you go on your own, or did you go with someone? Because that's quite a big thing to do. I feel like you have to. I mean, I'm sure like now, like, is there something you would have told yourself, your 17-year-old self, kind of thing, or like, do you know what I mean?
That's a great question. I don't know what I would have told probably just to like brace yourself for music as an industry, because the ups and downs are pretty chronic, you know, and that particular situation just broke my heart. I mean,
Really?
yeah, totally. Like, you know, it was like I had all my dreams on my table, and I was young, so they were like, you know, great. And it was all happening really effortlessly. I think it was really like a dream scenario. I'd been scouted. I was just singing, like, just in this random little place because it was something to do with my mum's work. It was just such a non-event. But there happened to be somebody there that was a manager, and he was able to introduce me to this label within Sony. And so then we spoke to them, and then, you know, I played for them and everything was great. And they were going to give me a development deal, which was going to pay me like X amount of pounds a month just to write. And it was literally like your dream scenario at 17. I was like, this is amazing. I'm going to have this incredible income. I'm going to be writing. I'm going to be flying all over the world. And then at the end of it, if they're happy, then it turns into a proper, you know, like 5-album deal or whatever. And, you know, wonderful. And I went out to America to meet their partners, and, you know, it was all like that, like they tell you it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then I think the lawyers negotiated the deal for 4 months, and then they just pulled the deal the day before signing with really no explanation. And I wasn't ready for that. Yeah. Really, like, literally, like, we don't know why. I'd read in the press there were, I think, you know, because Sony obviously has, or for people who don't know, there are many labels within Sony as the main one. So, and I won't say which label this one is, but we'd heard that they'd cut funding to the labels within, and maybe that was something to do with it. I don't know. I wasn't really given an explanation, but yeah, it absolutely broke my heart. So in a way, I wouldn't change it because it really readied me for music, and nothing really surprises me now. And I mean, it's kind of sad, but you know, you get a shell from that at a young age. And there's so many stories like this. Like, most artists out there have got a story that's as heartbreaking as that one, you know. But
yeah, it sounds like a huge whirlwind of like serendipitous.
Yeah.
Did you hear like so many stories of like, so like I think it's like Florence Welch was like found singing in the toilet, and now she's obviously Florence in the Machine. Like, so oh, it happened.
That's all it is, just sing in the toilet. Yeah. But it's true.
It doesn't always work out.
But in a way, I mean, it was the right thing on loads of levels. Why that particular deal didn't work out, and I definitely wouldn't have been given the reins to develop myself. Even though it was a development deal, I know I would have been quite manufactured at that point, you know, like, so it's worked out for the best as far as my own music artistry and development goes. But yeah, hurt though.
Yeah, but a blessing.
I'm all right now.
It's funny how those kind of challenges are, like Hattie's right, like they are blessings in disguise. Like they kind of, I see it like a tree, you know, like a tree that has branches, and it kind of leads you into like different directions, but it's still kind of in its own way. Do you feel like there have been any other challenges that you've come across so far? And I'm just thinking, for if we have listeners who might want a little bit of insight or advice into the world, and it can be, you know, like writing, or it can just be people you deal with or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a multitude of challenges. I kind of see music as like, I mean, sometimes I just feel like it's like being in a huge dark room and you're looking for a door, and the door could be like on the roof or a trap door, you don't know where, and you can't see anything, but you know there's a door in here. And that's how the music industry just feels. You just don't know what's coming. And that can be wonderful because you can get some phenomenal opportunities that you didn't know were going to happen, but at the same time it can be hard trying to find the route to like the next step or the next level. And so that's one of the biggest challenges, is knowing which way to go, which way to turn, who to trust is a really tough one, you know, like. And I think even if you do find people you trust, it's a constant reminder for me that nobody cares about your project like you do. No one's going to look after it like you do. And sometimes you almost believe that they do, but really it's not logical, you know, it's yours. So you really have to guide it the most. But challenges, I mean, I just, when you said that, I thought of you know, you write with all different kinds of people, and that can be terrifying or rubbish, or, you know, that like writing sessions give me anxiety really. Like before I go into a session, I'm like, oh my god, why have I signed myself up to do this? And then this one time I went into a session that was set up for me, and I've done quite a lot of different sessions, and they work fine. You know, you talk shit for like, you know, half an hour, and you get to know each other, and then you play some references and you get on with it. It's fine. But this one, I went into the room, and I guess we spoke for a little bit, and he played some beats, and I was like, cool, yeah, really like the beats, yeah, great. And this room was tiny, and his desk was facing the wall here, so he was just facing the wall because he was on his computer all the time. So I'm sitting behind him, like facing his back, and he didn't turn around for the entire session, and he just said no to everything that I did. And that was so bad. And then in the end, I actually loved the song that we did, but it was the most painful session, and I literally had like text to my manager, like ready to press go, like, you need to make up or something and get me out of this session. I can't believe it.
Like,
it's just so awkward. Do you know what I mean? You just sit in someone's back to you like this, and they're just like, no, for like 8 hours. Terrible.
Yeah, I guess it must actually be quite hard to find like the right kind of like producer or writer to work with and kind of establish those
really hard
relationships.
Oh yeah.
What do you kind of look for in someone that you work with, or is it just,
do you know,
change every time?
Finding a producer? No, I mean, I have the dream in my head that finding the, you know, ultimate partnership producer is like finding your soulmate. I mean, it's, you know, and I feel like there's only, well, really there should only be one of them if they're soulmates, but I feel like there's only a few people in the world for the job, and you have to just keep trying to find them. And that's why you keep going to sessions. That's why I keep going to sessions anyway. But this guy could be the one. You know, like it could be him. And I have found a wonderful relationship with a producer I'm working with at the moment, or who I'm working with recently, and that was really amazing. And I used to work a lot with my brother, so that was obviously great. But everyone else in between, even though they're you know, can be phenomenal producers, you want the click, like having a fucking great date, you know, like
the magic.
Maybe we do need like a Tinder for
I was just thinking this. I was just thinking.
Oh my god, that's brilliant. There you go.
I don't know how it could be. Yeah, just imagine like swiping right,
because it literally is it. No. Yeah, you'd have to just hear little snippets.
Yeah, you'd have little trailers.
Yeah, little snippets, and then you could swipe right and left. Yeah.
If anybody's listening to this and wants to take on this idea, just can we have some royalties, please? Because I think we got here first simultaneously.
Yeah, we're also copywriting it right now.
Yeah.
Your brother is musical as well.
Oh yeah, so yeah, my whole family is musical. Actually, we're kind of like the
Von Trapps,
the mixed race Von Trapps. Yeah. So yeah, my brother, who I was writing with and who was producing, so he's in a band called the Christians, who were, oh god, I'm gonna get myself in trouble now because I don't bloody know, but I think they were big in the 90s. He joined that band about 10 years ago, and he writes and plays for them. But all my family are musical. Yeah, everyone does something.
Do you think that having a musical family, was it having a musical family, or was it Mariah Carey that really kickstarted your
well, since Mariah's not listening, I'll say it was the musical family. No, 100%. Yeah, my parents both are in music. My mum, they were actually signed to the same record label. They were signed to Pi Records, but at different times. And my dad was in a band called The Chants, who was one of the first black boy bands of the 60s. And so he just did that whole, and he was part of, and that's in Liverpool, so he was part of the Mersey beat scene, and they were signed to the Beatles managers and sang with them, and he was in this big Liverpool music whirlwind of that era, which must have just been insane.
Yeah, totally mad.
Yeah, so fun. And by the time I was born, my mum and dad were singing in a band together. So it's just, that's how I grew up, like that. They were gigging all the time, and I just think there was nothing, I didn't really see any other options. It was like, this is what people do, right? We sing, great, amazing, let's go. Good job, I can sing. And then Mariah Carey came in, taught me some riffs, and there we go. I haven't listened to her for years, but I just put her on the other day, just like loved my life. I'm a big Vision of Love fan.
I think the 90s was like one of the strongest time for like R&B videos. Like, do you know what I mean? Like Missy Elliott, Busta Rhymes.
Right, you're right.
So strong.
Right.
This sounds like self-love to me. I think it's fine. I just like, I'm here for it. I'm here for it all, but every single time it gets to December, it's like everyone's simultaneously just like, all the singers come out and they're like,
That's it. The one song that never gets old. It's nearly time.
Where did you get your name from?
Right. So my full name is Holly Quin-Ankrah, because Quinn is my mum's surname and Ankrah is my dad's. And I used
Such
to
a nice name.
Thank you very much. I used to just, be Holly Quin-Ankrah, but I would finish a gig and everyone would be like, well, not everyone, but some people would be like, oh, great, where can we find you online and stuff? And I'd start to tell them, and I'd just start to see like their eyes glaze over, and then they'd need a pen and we need to write it down, and it just wasn't very practical. Do you know what I mean? Right. So it like was a problem for years. I don't know what to call myself, because I don't want to, by either dropping Quinn or Ankrah, I felt like I was dropping a part of my heritage, like even my mum's side or my dad's side didn't matter anymore. And I was going to be like Holly Quin-Rahh for a while, or just like Quin-Ankrah. And anyway, in the end, I was working with Dave Stewart, who's from the Eurythmics, and he said, he was sitting with me, I think we were having breakfast in Nashville once, and he was just like, you should just be Rahh, And I was just like, yeah. And he was like, yeah, just be Rahh. It's great. And I was like, yeah. And I went to tell the people, the label I was working with at the time, and they were like, oh, no, it sounds like reggae or something. We don't think that's quite right. And I was like, oh, God, I thought we had it. And then finally, when I stopped working with that record company, I was like, sure, fuck it, I'm going to be Rahh. And so it's the last syllable of my name, Ankrah. And I just added an extra H just for a bit of symmetry.
Oh, I love it. I think we've asked quite a few people like how they got their names, and I think that's possibly the best story.
So you have your name, which is like a kind of, I guess it's a mix of cultures, and I have like a similar thing as well.
Yeah.
And I find that amazing and beautiful as it is, and how like I wouldn't change it for the world. It's, for some people, it does kind of, it gives them the sort of like ethnic ambiguity about you, which can be a little bit like distracting. And then also I wonder if you find this as well, but being female on top of that, and like talking about the layers of trust that you have to have with people, it's like they're all distractions from your music slightly. So I don't know if you often like being mixed, like, I mean, we're all mixed, right? So like, how often do we get like the where are you from kind of thing?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. It's mad. I feel like I've been doing this, or I've been developing this, or singing as a music artist for a while now, and it's crazy how often I'm moving in my head what genres really fit me well, and that is it's a complex from this issue, because when I was a teenager, people were just really quick to compare me to whoever was black and in the charts, really, but especially if I was playing piano, it was like, oh, Alicia Keys, or I couldn't get away from R&B. It was like I was definitely R&B someone, you know what I mean? It was it's R&B, right? And I then started to kind of reject that, because then R&B started changing, as much as I adore R&B, but it started changing a little bit from where it was, and I didn't like it as much, and I was really rejecting that like box that was being put in. And I think I've just rejected that for years, and it's only in the last couple of years I've started to go, I fucking love R&B. I am R&B.
Yeah.
Fuck it. You know, like, yeah, Alicia, you know, and I've come back to actually, well, yeah, fine. But I just at the time was a bit like, stop trying to tell me what I can sing. I can do rock too. And, you know, and then I was exploring all these different genres, which are still really relevant and all influential. But really, it's just because that's what society wanted to tell me that I was doing.
I think it's quite hard to like forge your own identity, and people are like, yeah, you're just whoever else is there and whoever else is similar, and you're like, but I'm so much more than that.
Yeah. And the UK is, I think it's changed massively as far as, you know, who is prevalent in music here. But I remember when I was little and, you know, had a big dream to do it, it just felt like that was, if you looked like this, that is what you did. You didn't do pop, and you didn't do indie, or you didn't, it didn't work. Or maybe you did, maybe there were people doing them everywhere, but it didn't come through. They didn't want to promote it. It wasn't going to work. But if you looked kind of quirky and you sung soul, oh fuck, everyone would lose their shit about it, you know. And it's like, well, there's loads of like black people that are singing soul, like they're killing it.
True. I think I've read quite a couple of articles of people like that. I think people like, I don't know, I think I look back at like Jamelia and like people like Samantha Mumba. They're very much like pigeonholed into things that like they didn't have to be. And like I was like looking through your bio, and like you've obviously played with like Beverly Knight and Emeli Sande, and I think that they're also like, unfortunately, really key kind of examples of that.
Yeah. It's true. It is true. But it's really great when people do come through and break the barriers of that. And, you know, you see that. I mean, I think of that in American artists more so, I guess, but it's great when you see them coming through. Like Gary Clark Jr. was just really wicked to see. Or anytime you see someone doing country that doesn't look like they're going to do country, or
like Lil Nas.
I love that, you know, like,
Old Town Road.
Exactly. Like,
I mean, you obviously like have an interest in loads of different genres, and your music kind of encompasses that. But if you could exceed someone's expectations, how far would you go in terms of genre? Like, what is the most random genre where you'd be like, someone be watching you, you'd be like, oh, wow, I didn't expect that. What would it be?
Like, I don't know what you call this genre, but like the streets.
Oh yeah.
You know, like a bit like a
kind of like
know,
a UK
do like
funk.
a Manc accent, spoken kind of,
Yeah.
that kind of. I think that would be the one that people would be like, well, what the fuck's she doing? But I love the streets.
Oh, God, I love the streets.
You know what I mean? I love music like that. So yeah, I think that would be the one.
Certainly in the UK, like you've got those different places around the country, and when you hear singing, you can hear those different accents a lot of the time. But I think that because a lot of people grew up around American music and maybe Mariah Carey and stuff, you can sometimes fall into this thing of singing like an American when you're actually British, or maybe vice versa, or I don't know, or like switch around and find it difficult to keep consistent. How important is it for you to retain where you're from in the UK in your singing?
Yeah. Do you know what? I don't think, it's so true, because how you learn to sing, you know, all the things you're singing as a teenager, whatever it's for, your school concerts or whatever, it does tend to all be American stuff. And even if it's not American, it'll be, you know, if it's sang by someone English, they're still taking those American intonations, or like show tunes, which are traditionally American, aren't they, or musical theatre stuff. So I think it's really, I think by the time you have kind of developed your voice and your tone, it is what it is. So I don't even know if you can hear my accent in my voice, and I'm not too sure whether you would know I was English. I don't know, you'd have to tell me. I don't know. But I really try to just be my voice. I don't really like, you know, little affected things that people do sometimes in a singing, or I just really just try and be me. And if I do anything like that, like my mum would shout at me because she's a voice coach. So like, I think she, like, from being young, she'd be like, why are you singing like that? And I'm like, oh, I don't know, I heard it on the radio. She'd be like, no. So I really try and just be me, whatever the accent that is.
That's so good. It's such good advice as well from your mum.
As a singer, do you get people maybe like outside your family kind of being like, oh, you're so good, you should go on X Factor?
Yeah, of course, all my life.
And what's your response to that?
To just smile and leave the conversation. Smile and walk away, if it's possible. But I mean, these things, but you know, people in my family ask me questions like that, not my immediate musical family, but you know, this is a normal question, and they have no idea why that might be, you know, frustrating or anything to me. You know, it happens, and it happens because people have, that's their idea of the music industry, because that's what they're shown. So it's completely understandable. Like, people just don't know anything about it really, unless they listen to your podcast or they really take an interest and delve in. That's all they're shown, you know, Simon Cowell saying yes, no, and then like everyone's dreams coming true for like a day, and then they're just on to the next one, and they just think it's as simple as that. They're not looking into what happened or how they are afterwards, or where their next step is, or if we've heard of them.
Yeah, I was just thinking about your story earlier on, and I think, like you said, you know, like it really broke your heart, and like that really broke your heart, and it wasn't in front of 60 million people or whatever.
Yeah, well, I think about this a lot. Yeah,
that must be awful.
It actually stresses me out now. Like, I can't even watch it anymore, and I just wonder if that's it kind of coming back. It really, and you know, anything when it's kids, I just think, oh, they just don't have a clue, you know, and so it's a real ignorance, which not of their fault and not of the parents' fault. It is the dream that everyone's been sold through the television, you know. I'm not blaming the people themselves, but it's really can be traumatic. Even if you're not kids, I won't say who, but you know, somebody who wins The Voice, or particularly The Voice, I would say, because we really don't hear much from those winners. But it's just that can affect your mental health. You know, if you've not come from the music industry, if you are someone who was working in Waitrose or whatever, which is the dream they love, and then this is all you really know about it as well, because you don't have your family that might know, or your friends, they're not your peers. That's all you know. You're told you're fantastic on an insane scale. You think everything's amazing. It then gets snapped away from you, and no one wants to know you anymore. Like, mentally, you're just fucked from that. You know, that's without even your music dreams being spoken about. Yeah. It's just harsh.
Yeah, it's cruel.
This is such an interesting conversation, because I think I don't want to be, and I'm sure you feel like this as well, both of you, like you don't want to feel like you're being kind of like this elitist singer talking about it, because I completely respect that for some people that's their way into an idea of the music industry, and whether it's a true representation or not, it's an idea that kind of cultivates an interest, and the interest is important. Unfortunately, they're being sold a misrepresentation of the music industry. And the reason I think it's so relevant to what we're talking about is because I think it has a direct impact on our careers as singers, and as like it gives people an idea that what we do is completely different. And like you said, it's all based around this idea of dreams and hopes and highs and lows and emotions. And also, and I don't know if you think this as well, Holly, I think it's very difficult to actually be like, right, I am a singer, which also means that I am a musician. Instead of having instrumentalists and musicians like as if they're separate from singers. Even the way that singers are placed on a stage in something like X Factor, it's just them, the orchestra or the band, or like in the pit at the side. And it's just like me. Like, why? Because then you've set up a hierarchy, and again you've set up this false expectations of like hopes and dreams. Do you feel like that's something that's like a real battle? Like, do you ever have to feel like you have to convince people that you are a musician, and how do you do that?
I think what's happened is, as I've grown up, I have maybe done this subconsciously, but the people I'm surrounded with, the people that I interact with, are creatives of one way or another. Like, and I'm not saying they're all in music, but they have a broader understanding. So I don't need to explain that. But when you meet other people who aren't in your safe like bubble, which is a problem, it's like, I just mean the safe bubbles are the problem, not meeting other people outside. That would be a good thing. When you meet those other people, you are having to explain. They think, and this is a problem with social media, but people just think whatever you're doing within this world is so glamorous and so fantastic and so well paid, and you find yourself having to, like if you do a session or something and then you speak to someone who's working per hour, and I'm not saying I'm paid ridiculously for sessions, I'm just saying even how that pay matches up. So it won't be the same as what someone's getting paid for working 8 hours doing a shift somewhere, because I might be in a session doing 3 hours and my rate, it might be 4 times what theirs is that day. But then you having to explain to people that that's a one-off session. I don't do this, I can't do that every day, and I've been training my voice to be efficient at sessions for a fucking long time, so that when I go in, I have the skill set to be able to smash that out. And I found myself recently having to kind of justify things like that, because people are like, what, that's crazy, and you're like, but no, it just works different to what your skill set is. This is my skill set. And I'm a musician, I'm an instrument, I'm not just like having a great time on stage, and I do have a great time on stage, but it's like there's more work and skill and technique involved, and people forget that with singers. Definitely. They think we go on and we just love what we do and everything is easy and fabulous, and there's a stylist there and there's this there, and sometimes that shit comes and it's fucking great, but they forget all the work you've had to do in order to be able to stand on the stage and deliver.
Or the 16 hours on set doing a video, the hours and hours it takes to write a song, to get that produced, and I think people think it's like easy.
Totally. The processes are so long, whatever it is, even if it's performance, you could go on do so like a spot on the Jonathan Ross show, great, and you might do 3 minutes, that's the song that you've done, but maybe to get there you had to fly back from somewhere else and you've not slept for 4 days. And
no, it makes a lot of sense. It's like, I think you get that thing a lot where people assume that singers, they're just constantly doing karaoke, and it's like it's like a hobby. And that's so hard, particularly when you're starting off, because people don't really want to pay you properly, and they think, well, they're enjoying it, so it must be fine. It's like, no, mate, this is actually this is my work, and you need to set your boundaries there. Have you been in that position where you've been gigging and
I mean, I feel that's an issue that still occurs, and probably still will, and it even can come from people who are in music and are totally lovely and totally respectful, but they just they've just missed something, they haven't quite understood that this is a job and I should be paid for this job like you would pay a lawyer for doing their job, or anyone else for their services. You're going to get someone to clean your windows and then go, oh, thanks for the experience. And you're going to pay them to do their job. Like, the amount, it's kind of insane that it's just in a creative industry that people think that we should just do this highly skilled, unique, precious shit for free. It's like, what are you talking about?
I know it's very difficult, talking about everything that's going on at the moment, and it's been quite an interesting time for creatives. How have you found it? Have you found that it's been a creative time? Have you found other things to do, or has it been difficult to not be performing so much?
It's I still feel very much I don't feel we're anywhere near the end, and I feel like my outlook changes all the time. But when it began, I had just got with my boyfriend, so we were very much honeymooning, falling in love in lockdown with nothing to do. It was amazing. It was like having summer holidays at school. I was like, it's wonderful. It's a beautiful day. I'm falling in love. I'm cycling around. This is great. That ran out, as much as I still adore him.
Yeah.
I was a bit like, oh, it's still here, right? Okay, great. He went back to work. He's a chef. And then it kind of was like a phase 2 of like, oh fuck, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what to do. I felt like there was a lot of people on socials who was putting out subtle kind of messages that people should be being really productive. And I didn't really like that pressure. And then there was other people kind of going, no, you just look after you. And, hopefully people were somewhere in the middle, but that was confusing. And it depends. And as a creative, self-employed person anyway, you are highly motivated, as I'm sure you girls know. You're high motivated anyway, and you're thinking of a million things to do anyway. And I personally struggle with switching off from that. So for me, I kind of took my first few months as like, well, this is my switch off, and I'm not going to do anything because I don't really need to. I was still writing for fun, but really wasn't putting pressure on it. Now it's like a normality that we now need to find a stride of, and it's tough. I'm still struggling with wanting to kind of put 2 fingers up to what's going on, and the fact that the government don't respect it, and that I'm now, now financially everybody is struggling, and on the other hand, I'm wrestling with that. And no, you should get up and write a fucking hit song today, and do this, and make your own video, and brainstorm this, and speak to these people. And it, depending what day it is, depends which side I'm closer to, but it's tough.
Yeah, I guess it is just like take it day by day and see how
it
works out.
And just hope you find your groove. But I know some people who have like written albums. I know some people who are like, mentally ill now. There's people that are different. It's just, you got to find what works for you, I think, within this.
It's not a normal situation.
But I wish there was some sort of well-being section to the news, rather than everything just being in red and having a really anxiety-inducing theme tune. Like, they should be like, okay, everybody, I know actually at one point they were like, listen, like, don't watch too much of the news because you might actually get really anxious. I think they said that once, but they should totally be like, okay, everyone, we're in lockdown now. You might feel like you have to do everything, but actually we're all going through some collective shit here, so just take your time.
Totally.
But I think you are so right when you're talking about musicians specifically having that thing where like you can already like write songs. That's what that's on people's list. Write a song, learn an instrument, do a beat, do this, and you're like, mate, I'm already like
I've been doing that,
run out.
And it also like exacerbates this idea that people view music as a hobby because it's part of like the things that you do during quarantine. Another thing that you said that really resonated with me actually is the switching off.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So how do you do that? And actually, it also linked back to something you said at the very start of finding a kind of refuge to write, and how that would be an ideal for you. And I wonder if we put too much pressure, or if a lot of people put too much pressure on lockdown being its own kind of refuge as a space to write, because that is it, right? Like, that's going to be one of the only opportunities in some people's lives but when the pressure's there, you can't necessarily always do it.
And I found, even when I had kind of come out of my phase 1, I was in my phase 2 of being a bit more productive, there's such a uncertainty with the moment. Anything you thought your future was is really different now. Everything's just, we can't, like you say, we have to take it day by day. We don't know what's going on, and that clouds my creativity. Just clouds it. I'm just like, I've gone through, sometimes I'm like, well, what's the point? What's the point again of me writing this song? Like, why are we doing it if I can't do this, and then I can't go and sing it live, and I go, and you're wrestling with that, and then you think, oh well, And this is just one of the voices in your head, you know, going, well, why do I need to do why am I even doing music? What's going on? But then some days you can feel really inspired because what's lovely is because you're not working, you're not traveling around, you're not going here, there and everywhere, and you're not taking on 17 jobs at once. You are just existing. You are just here. And as, you know, as scary as that can be sometimes, it does give you space where creative ideas can come naturally without forcing them, without having to sit in a session even, you know, without deciding you're going to write today. And that's really beautiful. But though, you know, there's a mixture. There's a real mixture, isn't it, of when it comes naturally, when it's not, really feeling motivated when it's not. But there was a time, I'm not saying this is now, but there was a time, I remember, I think August, September time, and everyone I spoke to, whether it was a producer or a writer, was just like, I am just not inspired to write. I just can't write. Like no one felt inspired to do it because it's just this horrible like feeling in your stomach of anxiety, and I found it more challenging, I think, to write from scratch this year than I have ever. Personally, I don't think it's created a you know, writing sanctuary for me personally, but I've definitely written, so we'll see. maybe some of it written's really fucking great, but I've found it harder.
If you think about like times outside of right now, where would you tend to get like inspired from, or where do you get your sort of influences from for writing?
I find it important. This is another thing I'm really trying to do, and especially with this bad weather, is just to go outside. Make sure you go outside. You know, after doing lockdown, I was doing lots of yoga in the house, and now I've like, no, I gotta go back to the yoga studio. I've got to make sure I'm getting out the house, even if I don't have to go, because we don't need to leave the house anymore. You know, like everything you're doing is in the house, and that becomes very claustrophobic for my brain. So yesterday, you know, I just went out on my bike, and it was I couldn't really be bothered going out, and then I did go out, and I was like, I'm so fucking happy I've come out. You know, like the second I started cycling, I'm like, I feel inspired by stuff. You know, it can be someone's face, or someone just like fell over a bit, or someone dropped his ice cream, or there's like graffiti on that shed that looks weird, or like there's a fruit that's felt like, it can be anything. When you're out and about and looking at your surroundings, I find inspirational. That's why I love this part of London as well, because there's just so much random shit here.
It is a nice
and people.
A nice part. I think you're so close to like everything going on, but there's also like some really lovely parks in that area, and like really lovely little neighborhoods, and it's like London without the kind of madness. Yeah. Although it's still mad in its own way.
It feels villagey.
Yes.
And it's colourful.
Yes.
And the canal, you know, when it's not a horrible day and the sun's coming out, you know, and there's beautiful trees, and autumn is such a fantastic time of year, you know, you've seen all these amazing leaves on the ground, like all of this stuff is just like, there's a feast for your eyes, but it's outside, and if you don't remember to leave, it's hard.
Yeah, it's easy to forget.
So yeah, it's really easy to forget, especially when it's cold. I hate the cold. Remember, we're mixed. We don't like the cold. I don't want to go out there. What are you on about? You know, I have to really wind myself up to get out. And then like, oh yeah, life. It's okay. So yeah, just normal things that you see every day. Normal stuff inspire me. Yeah.
I'm super aware of the time. I don't want to keep you too long. I still have a couple of questions about your
Sure,
music.
go for it.
So I was listening through today, like having a little bop, loving it. And I think I was like listening on Spotify, and like all your sounds are they're quite varied, quite broad. So it's really like exciting and it like enticing to listen to, because it's like I can kind of hear like different genres and influences and different things. I really liked Home, where it's got this sort of like choir layered sound, like quite gospel. Yeah. And then other things are like kind of new wave pop. It was really cool. And I just wondered if that was how broad your kind of like your musical influences are.
Do you know what? It's absolutely right that all of the things that I've released are slightly different, but I think that the reality is it's come like that because I was working with different producers, and we were kind of because we were releasing on a single by single basis rather than an album or an EP. We were choosing what song was strongest to go forth with, and that didn't necessarily follow on from the genre that we just released in. So that's why. However, it was lovely that you said you really like home, because that is the genre that I'm leading
Oh,
with
I love it.
right now. Thank you very much. I just think that one's closest to where we're headed. I think Overkill has a place in there as well for that new wave pop, but there's that kind of melancholic, uplifting fusion, and also you're not really sure if that sits in like pop or R&B. That fits well for me.
It felt quite like
I'm not in the box.
It felt really like modern. I can't put my finger
Yeah.
on like who it exactly kind of, you know, when you get like the sort of suggested artist, I was like, oh, this kind of fits with some other things, but I can't put my finger on what. But it's really nice, really beautiful, and I actually think like a perfect antidote for today's weather. I was like just like walking around, like feeling like I'm in a music video. It was great.
Oh, cool, man. Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're very welcome. And then also with your writing days, or just when you're sort of thinking about ideas and stuff, what is your sort of typical day? What does it kind of look like?
A typical writing day, a day where I'm at home writing. I get up. Or do you want just like a typical day where I'm kind of productive in music?
Do you have any like rituals or?
I get up and I unfortunately check my phone is the first thing I will do. I'm checking emails and I'm voice noting my manager generally, and then if I'm going to be productive with writing, I will sit down at the piano and I will go through voice note ideas that I've previously made, and I'll be making some that day, but I will like start several ideas and I'll voice note them, and then I like to put them down, and then if I'm cycling somewhere, I'll listen to them a few days later, or if I'm definitely going to write that day, I will sit down and be like, right, and I'll go through the ideas, and hopefully there's always one I want to develop or work on, or hopefully you go, oh, good, that's good, because I like to take a bit of distance. And then I'll sit there and I'll develop it on the piano, and then I will put it into Logic, which is the software that I use, and I'm not a producer, so I will just demo it up, sing it in and put some vocals on it and try and get a drum beat on there. And then I'll try and leave it. Like I said, I like to take space. I don't like to saturate my day in one song. I'll cook like 3 times in the day.
Perfect.
Love cooking, love food. Yeah, made it a smoothie. I listen to Radio 4. That's a bit of a ritual. Love a bit of Woman's Hour. They always say like, love it. So I try to coincide me like tidying the kitchen and cooking my breakfast with Woman's Hour, and then when she's done, I'll head to do some music. I think that's it. And I'll try and go to yoga, and then I try and chill out. Now that's a new thing of this year, to be honest. Like I do stop. I just stop at a certain time. Usually when my boyfriend comes in from work, which is like 11. It's nice because he comes in quite late. So it still gives me a good amount of time. You know, like I can still get up late and have a productive day because I don't like getting up early. And then I stop. Take TV, watch film, watch Netflix, whatever. Go to bed. I wasn't very good at stopping before this year. I'd still be like up at 3 a.m, 4 a.m, doing stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that's important for me anyway. Depends.
That sounds lovely. It sounds like a lovely day. And actually, with you voice noting your music back to you, how long do you kind of sit on ideas, or is it like you
so long? Yeah, I'm not this. Like I heard like Ed Sheeran was like, if it's not written in 7 minutes, like I throw it in the bin. I'm like, man, maybe that's why you are a billionaire or whatever, because that is not what I do. I'm like, nah. I just feel like I put something in my songs that is not disposable. So when I have put that in there, I really don't like just leaving it in a book. You know, I'm like, no, we need to develop this so it works now. Like if I'm feeling a connection with the song, it can be like 4 years later when I pick that song up and go, now it works. You know, like this work. Now we've got this drum on it. Oh, now this producer's going to make it sick. Like anything, you can take one song and make it 10 different genres. You know, like if there's something in it that's resonating with you and that's going to make it authentic when you sing it and going to make it move people, then don't drop the song, you know, just work it out. Find a way to work it. I think. So I can sit on voice notes for a long time, baby. Yeah.
I love that.
I wonder how. I've definitely got a couple of couple of years old voice notes in the phone.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I'm sure they'll come around. I'm sure that there will be a time when you're like,
You never know. You never know, Hattie. That's what I mean. Don't know.
If you want to tell your friends what's the best podcast experience of your life, we're down with that.
Will do. Absolutely. Given. All right.
Thanks,
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Holly, for a wonderful interview. And you can be sure to check her out on Spotify. And also, she's pretty active on Instagram. Her Instagram handle is @IAM_Rahh.
We also definitely recommend go and check out her music. As we said, Overkill was out a little bit earlier this year. It's a brilliant listen. She's got a wonderful portfolio of music, so definitely go and check out some of her older stuff as well. And yeah, we're just really looking forward to seeing what she does next. She's got some really exciting plans.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, indeed. Same time, same place.